Okay, class. Dahil majority sa inyo hindi makaka-join, ay hindi pala naka-join kasi past tense na tayo, I'm giving you chapter number 8 of our discussion here on good governance. And bago natin gawin yon, recap muna natin yung dalawang discussion na binigay ko po sa inyo. The first one was about theories in good governance, and the other one is how to implement. Okay, and not only how to implement, it's how to improve the implementation that we've done. Dito muna tayo sa theories. So, babalikan natin yung three pillars ni McGregor Burns. He was the father of transformational leadership theories. And if you're familiar with transformational leadership theories, it's basically a leadership style na yung leader is trying to make more leaders out of his followers. So, kumbaga compounding effect. Ang leader, gumagawa na mas maraming leader. Imagine in a world na bawat leader natin ay gumagawa ng mga leader at ang mga leader na ginawa niya ay gumagawa din ng ibang klaseng leader. It is indeed transformational. And according to this, in his theory, when it comes to good governance, there are three pillars, right? Uh, First, the first pillar is leadership. Imagine nyo na lang it's the brain. And if it's the brain, it's about the tone on top. As I mentioned, a leader is in a strategic position, literally and physically, literally and metaphorically nasa itaas, because siya yung on top. And of course, leaders set the ethics, the vision, and without those, imagine an organization is just a group of people trying to chase money without a moral compass. Leadership decides where it's going and why they are doing it, as we recap. And the second pillar is systems. Imagine systems as the skeleton and nerves, yung structure, diba? Without the structures, right, such as the rule of law, oversight, data, systems, the processes, right? Even a leader who is very effective cannot control the followers, diba? So again, without these systems, organizations stays very inefficient, right? But without it, as I mentioned, it's doomed to fall. Kasi walang structure. Imagine niyo na lang na mabigat ang utak. Ang mabigat na utak ay kailangan ng mabigat na struktura para manatiling nasa itaas. Kasi kung hindi, kung walang structure yan, yung utak malalaglag. Yung leader malalaglag. And the third component is followership. Imagine it as the muscles, the thing that makes the skeletal system in the brain move from one place to another, right? And followership is often a forgotten pillar. And again, governance isn't something done to people, as we would recall, kasi diba transformational leadership, it is done with them, for them, right? With them, okay? And of course, without engagement and feedback, right, systems become rigid and leadership becomes out of touch. Magaling nga ang leader, maganda nga ang sistema, pero kung ang mga followers hindi naman willing sumunod, wala rin, it's doomed to fail. Now, as I mentioned, these three components are important. I would argue na walang masigit over another. Importante na balanse. It's like a three-legged stool. Kung isang pa ng stool masyadong mahaba or isang pa ng stool masyadong maikli, malalaglag yung nakaupo, di ba? Right, so yan. The magic happens between the overlaps of these three pillars. As I mentioned, 3-foot stool. Again, just like a body, working in synergy, not for its own, okay, but for surviving and thriving of the organism. Itong mga intersections, dito natin nakikita yung mga iba-ibang klaseng dynamics of good governance. For example, good leadership and good systems equals accountability, wherein a leader uses data-driven systems to track progress, and people are held responsible for their actions fairly. Effective governance happens, makikita natin. Another one is when good systems and good followerships synergize, may transparency nangyayari. Employees use the systems to provide feedback and to see the rule of law applied equally, and they feel the organization is clean. Pagtagal neto, may mga sustained outcomes also happens too when they could see it. And lastly, when followership and good leadership synergizes, it's the vision being realized. A leader can have the best vision in the world, but if the followers, as I mentioned, aren't adaptable and engage, the vision stays on the PowerPoint slide lang naman, di ba? And it never reaches the market. So, a good synergy of followers and leaders makes the vision happen. But then again, natural na magkakaroon ng mga imbalances in these pillars. And it does happen. As I mentioned, the three-foot stool, di ba? And if you would recall chapter 7, which we talked about the problems, di ba? Yung mga challenges. Di ba? Dito, it's called building blocks na. Diba? Before it was challenge. Those challenges, when turn opportunities, when become strengths, now they become the building blocks. And imagine it, since we're talking about the body already, imagine these building blocks as the lack of it thereof, or like an illness. It's the manifestation of a problem. For example, in the mind, the leadership, in the body, and we're in the systems and followership. Example, a fever we know, right? The fever is not the problem, diba? But it's only a symptom of something greater. Hindi problema yung lagnat. Pagmamanifest lang yan as something that is greater, perhaps an infection or the body trying to adapt a dire situation. We cure the sickness rather than the symptom only. Okay? So, according to this, phase 1, right, is the diagnosis. We do a strategic checkup. We look at this, right? The leadership. We could use gap analysis if we want to. We could analyze these building blocks by using 360 feedback. We could also use process mapping, and there are many ways and many tools to measure these building blocks kung saan ba may deficit at saan ba kung may pagkukulang. Diba? And once we've measured kung saan may kulang, obviously, we try to improve on those. Diba? So, doon papasok yung mga processes that you could do. And there are many ways to do that. As an example is using a Six Sigma approach. And if you would recall, a Six Sigma approach looks at waste and redundancies na meron. Right? It tries to make sure that in every 6 million parts, isa lang ang mali. So, grabe naman yung black level na yun kasi may building sa Six Sigma. Another one is lean approach. Lean approach is more on the quality side of things. Diba? Wherein it identifies the strongest value that supports in improving. It provides a value stream, and with the stream, it creates good flow, good pull, and seek perfection in the end. So, maganda system ng lean approach. When you say leaning, literally and metaphorically speaking, when you're lean out, you're trying to cut the fat. You're trying to cut what weigh things down. Diba? So, kumbaga, kung mas marami kang taba, mas mabagal ka, hindi ka efficient. But when you're trying to lean, you're trying to reduce those, and when those are reduced, you are more efficient in moving, free moving, and there are, in fact, things na dating hindi mo nagagawa na kaya mong gawin kasi medyo nakapagbawas ka na. So, kung principle man sa katawan ng leading, it's also a principle in organization. Yun ang leading approach. And this one should be very familiar with you right now. Another tool is SMART goal setting. Simple lang naman siya. It identifies a goal, specific. When you say specific, hindi broad. Specific, it's doable. It's particularly singular as much as possible. Measurable, meaning we could assign KPIs to determine what is high, what is low. Action-oriented, we know what are the necessary actions for us to meet those KPIs to increase or decrease. Realistic, meaning when it's realistic, people could actually do it. Diba? And of course, time-bound, because even though gaano kaganda ang plano, and if it doesn't provide a time, it's only a dream. Okay? The next, once we've identified the problems, diba? Using a tool, we've implemented techniques to improve, we're gonna do feedback. Simple naman na feedback to understand if what we wanted to do really took effect. May nangyari nga talaga. Okay? Kasi you might try to make the best tools, techniques, the best action in an organization. But if you're not trying to hit what you want, wala rin nangyayari. If you're asked to count numbers and you're providing the alphabets, wala ring sense, diba? So parang ganun din ang feedback. We're trying to make sure that we're putting square pegs in square holes, circular pegs in circular holes. And how do we do that? Provide process feedback. We simply look at the process. Tignan natin kung ano yung mga naging epekto. Again, may mga ganyan sa Six Sigma approach. Nalaman natin kung sa madalas may waste and mga redundancies. Stakeholder perception feedback. We ask not only one type of stakeholder, but many. Minsan nga, kahit yung sa external organization, we also ask for their feedback. Performance feedback, like 360 feedback, internal. Not only as managers, we see the effect on it on employees, but we also ask the employees kung ano effect ng management on them. 360 ka nga. Systematic interaction feedback, we look at systems. If systems become more seamless or if new integrated systems make things more complicated. Kumbaga, kung may emergency, kailangan mo pa ba magtanong ng 5 o 3 tao kung pwede ba ito? Diba? So that's a systematic nightmare. So dun mo malalaman sa systematic interaction feedback if everything is convenient, easier to do. As I always mention, a good systems, it allows good things to be done easier and hard things to be done harder. Okay? And of course, leader feedback. Right, so now we move to chapter number 8, which is measurement, implementation, and integration. So we brushed on it the last time, but this one, I'm gonna provide tools and techniques na kakailanganin nyo. Again, to measure, to implement, and to integrate. But first, before we move on, we should try to answer why should we turn governance from a promise into a practice, right? Of course, to avoid a corporate autopsy. You don't want to find out why a company died after it's already gone. Kala mo nabuhay ka, pero patay na pala, nagkakaroon na ng problema kasi may mga bagay ka na hindi nasusukat, may mga kailangan ka ma-implement na hindi mo na-implement, at may mga magagandang bagay na hindi mo na-i-integrate. So, mahirap na. Napatay na pala bago mo palang malaman, napatay na. To get off the life support, again, a leader cannot manually force every employee to breathe ethically, to cure strategic numbness, because the most dangerous organizations are the ones that can feel their own pain. Hindi nila alam na dahan-dahan nang namamatay from the inside because we haven't set any metrics to know what is the problem and how and why should we fix it. To support growth, because again, a weak pulse cannot support a massive body. Right, so the first tool is a governance dashboard. What is a governance dashboard? It's basically a vital signs monitor. A dashboard. Ano ba meron sa dashboard? Kumbaga sa kotse, nag-drive ka, di ba? May tachometer. Malalaman mo kung gaano kadaming gasolina na lang, gaano kabilis umikot ang makina, di ba? So it shows the vital signs in the organization before the organization flatlines. And a dashboard can have many types of KPIs, key performance indicators, as long as these KPIs can be measured. And when you measure, you observe. An example, in public organizations, the 3Cs, what could you include? Compliance, a metric that looks at compliance, di ba? For example, audit scores. Culture, okay? Mga reports na nangyayari. Controls, such as data breaches or error rates, para sa mga public to. We could also look at the 4 scores for private organization, or again, the balance scorecard. Madalas kong ginagamit to kasi ito very simple, right? To measure if things are going good for private. Profit, kumikita ba tayo? Process, maganda ba proseso natin? May mga tama ba? Mas madami ba tayong tama kaysa sa mali? Employees, are our employees developing? Natututo ba sila along the way, or are they stagnating? And customers, are we satisfying customers? More so, are we trying to provide value na hindi nila inakala? So, we could measure all of these and when we use the dashboard. And in the dashboard, again, you're not limited to only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could measure all you want. Provided na kailangan mo i-measure yan. And again, going back to measure, pag ang kailangan mo measure ay litro, right? Siguraduhin mo na hindi ka nag-measure in ounces. Kung kailangan mo mag-measure ng kilo, siguraduhin mo hindi ka nag-measure ng pounds. Sa madaling salita, you're trying to measure what you need to measure, and what you measured should be understood by the entire organization. Walang kamot ulo or surprises. So this is an example, right? Simple dashboard. Numbers, colors, green, yellow, red. So here's one technique that you could do. Select 5 vitals, in this case, nakita na lang, tatlong KPIs that you could assign numbers. Pero mas madali, para talagang mas may sense of urgency, is providing colors, right? You could use green for healthy, you could use red for a crisis, for example. Ayun, color code. Nauna na pala ako. Numbers and then codes. Yan, green, healthy pulse. Yellow, stress, fever. Red, immediate surgery required. So, the dashboard is your trigger. You cannot fix what you do not see. When the light turns red, the governance engine starts. In this case, pag may pula na, that's when you know you have to do something before things flatline. And how did you know that you need to do something? Because you have a dashboard. A dashboard that provides real-time data, real-time situational analysis of what is going on. Now, the wonder with technology right now is hindi natin kailangan gawing mano-mano with predictive analysis, with correlation, for example, mga statistical tools na pwede nating magamit. We could simply punch, let's just say, 12 points of data, 12 months in a year, 12 points of data in all those KPIs, and we could see a trajectory. So ngayon, mas importante at mas madali nang gumawa ng mga dashboard. Alright, so this is an example activity. You and 3 friends started the Charity, a brand selling shirts designed by the local artist. Your social mission, yung sinasabi nyo, is you want to produce 100% sweatshop-free production. Walang involved na mga underpaid, undercut na mga empleyado galing sa ibang bansa. That's your vision, yun na sinasabi nyo. Step 1, the dashboard, diagnose. Though your business is growing, but the dashboard shows a split in health status. Right? You must choose one to fix immediately. So, basic example, gumawa tayo ng dashboard. So, hindi na color-coded. Pero ito yung ginawa natin sa dashboard. Sales volume is green because everyone in the campus are wearing your shirts. But customer growth is also green. Your Instagram followers are doubling every month. But there's a problem. Supplier ethics. Kaya pula-pula. To meet demand, you, or I don't know, baka yung kapartner mo, secretly using a cheap factory known for unfair labor practices. Okay, so, yan yung problem. It's a red flag because remember, ano ba yung sinabi nyo? Ano ba yung mission and vision ng organization nyo? O saan ba kayo kilala? Diba? Kasi ang social mission nyo is to produce 100% sweatshop-free production. But, just so happen na ikaw, baka malamang partner mo yun, is not doing those. So, we assign colors. Diba? Green, green, red. And obviously, ano uunahin natin? Yung pula. Yun yung magiging problem natin. Supplier ethics. So, bear that in mind as we move along. Okay. Tool number 2, gap analysis. Once the dashboard finds the priority problem, in the last case is, ano ba yung last case natin? Is supplier ethics, right? The gap analysis determines what it should and could look like, okay, versus what it is looking right now. It looks at the gap, kung anong present, anong dapat, at ano yung problema in between. So it's a brutal and honest comparison between where the company says it is and where it is actually is. 3 columns, madali naman ng gap analysis. The desired state, the policy, yan yung gusto natin mangyari, or ayan yung pinaka-mismo na mangyari. Okay? Yan. The current state, yung reality, kung ano talaga ang itsura, kumbaga yung real talk ba, what is actually happening. So, may desired state and may current state. And of course, in the middle is the gap. Ano yung pagkukulang? Ano ba talaga yung nangyayari? Bakit may nangyayaring problema? Ano ba yung gap? Ano ba yung cause of gap? And of course, the more gaps you can identify, the wider the gap literally is. Okay? Now, this is an example gap analysis. As you could observe, may 4 na columns. Of course, number 1 is the governance area. And number 2 is the current state. As I mentioned, the reality, yung katotohanan, the gap, the challenges that is going on right now, and the desired state. So, for example, in the governance area, whistleblowing, okay? The desired state is employees report unethical behavior without fear by 100%. Yun yung desired state in whistleblowing. Pero ano bang real talk? Ano ba nangyayari sa katotohanan? 0 reports in 2 years, diba? Exit interviews mention fear of the boss. Walang nagre-report. Yun yung current state. So, anong problema? There is a lack of psychological safety, perhaps. When it comes to the gap, it could be observable, it could be an interpolation or an extrapolation. Basta importante, meron tayong sensible and practical explanation why the current state does not meet the desired state. Ayan, mga other examples. So, basically, tinitingnan lang natin yung pangako, yung nangyayari ngayon, at ano yung problema in between. A current state, gap, and a desired state. Okay, so a gap analysis is the only time in business where finding a giant hole in your plan is actually considered a successful day in the office. When you do a gap analysis, ang goal mo is to to punch and look out of the holes, determine the holes. And when you do that, as in mga skills na sinasabi na ito ang problema, it's a good day in the office because once you've identified the problem and the contributing factors to the problem, you could do something about it. Okay, balik tayo sa step 2. Yung sa ano natin, sa case natin, yung sa sa charity T. Right? For chosen problem, ano ba yung naging problem natin? Which was ethical supplier choosing. Kasi remember, ikaw o yung partner mo, hindi namimili ng isang ethical supplier, although sinabi mo na 100% ethically sourced. Yan, simple lang naman, di ba? The desired promise is we promise sweatshop-free shirts. But the reality is that we are using an unregulated factory. So what's the gap? We are not choosing an ethical supplier. Many explanations for that, but para sa case na to, yun lang naman. Okay? So again, desired state, current state, and what is the gap? It is as simple as that. But even though this may look simple, the more gaps you can find in a problem, the more sophisticated and the more practical this simple tool becomes. A tool is only as good as the wielder. Okay? Alright, tool number 3, force field analysis. What is force field analysis? Okay, so now you know what is wrong because of the gap, because of the dashboard, and you use the gap analysis. You have to figure out why it hasn't been fixed. Bakit hindi naayos? May problema naman pala eh. Bakit hindi naayos o hindi nakikita? Okay? Think of force field analysis as a tug of war of organizational change. And later you'll see why. Bakit tug of war? Every change involves a tug of war between two opposing forces. A force that agrees, a force that doesn't. A force that pushes, a force that pulls. Diba? Ganun na naman yan. A positive and a negative force para maging simple yan. Two opposing forces ranging from resistance, basic human resistance, psychological resistance, or authority resistance, many other resistance. Resource resistance. Sa madaling salita, hindi natin kaya. We don't think we have the time, the money, the effort to do that. And pestle resistance, political, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental. Those resistance that are way beyond our control. And again, all push and pull, they do matter. So in a force field analysis, we try to determine those. Bakit hindi nangyayari itong change although na-identify na natin yung problem? So, two forces I mentioned, a driving force, a push, one that is positive para madaling alalahanan. The reasons to change, right? For example, new technology, new legal requirements, the pressure for ethics, and a resisting force, the pull, the negative force, the resistance to change. Example, resistance. We've always done it this way, fear of losing power, or the cost. Again, minention ko kanina. And what do? You score both the driving force and the restraining factors 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. So you could score both. And when you could score both, meaning pwede maging 5 ang isang pushing, pwede maging 5 ang isang pulling, pwedeng mas mataas ang isa, pwedeng mas mababa ang kabila. So you just simply score, provided that these score are realistic and practical, and you're not just the one scoring, not unless you're a super highly overqualified consultant, na may teammate ka din na tinutulungan kang gawin. Hindi biased. Ayan, basic example, di ba? A change proposal, since you did the dashboard, you did the gap analysis. Okay, in the gap analysis, you figured out what should be done, di ba? Now, gagawa ka na ng change proposal, right? You look at the forces that contributes for it to be passed, and you score it, and you look at the forces against the change. Diba? So, nagigets yun na bakit force field analysis is a push and pull of things. Goal, right to change in the center, the drivers on the left, right, the restrainers on the right. You score them 1 to 5, okay? 1 being the highest, one being the 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. Okay. So the strategy here is that since you're scoring both the push and pull, and sometimes push and pull exist in the same space. Just like how we move. Hindi porket umaandar ka sa kotse, umaandar yung gulong, it doesn't mean na walang restrictive forces. Friction is still there. But you could say friction is only 1 while the movement is around 5. Diba? For example, nagtutula ka ng pader. It doesn't mean na hindi porket umaandar yung pader na walang pushing force yun. It just so happen na mas malakas yung restrictive force. Yung pader, 5. Yung lakas mo, 1. Kaya, punta ka pa sa gym. So the strategy, if the pull is stronger than the push, right, don't just add more pressure. Huwag mong lakasan ng tulak. You try to find out a way how to weaken the resistance because that also works. Diba? Kung sa tingin mo, nakulang ka sa lakas, huwag mong daanin sa lakas. Gumawa ka ng paraan para pahinain yung oposisyon. Okay, so doon na tayo ulit sa case natin sa Charity T. We've used the dashboard, realized that we're not ethically sourcing. We look at the gap analysis. Ayun nga, lumabas din sa gap analysis natin that we're not ethically looking for a supplier. We're not ethically sourcing. That's the problem. The gap is that we're not looking for a particular supplier that meets our needs. So in a force field analysis, yun yung problem natin, find an ethical supplier. Simple as that. Strategy, okay, is to choose an ethical factory. Simple naman. What are the pushing force? Because there's a PR scandal if we don't do it. So we must do it. Ba? We have the fear of being cancelled. Remember the mission. It's a promise to the kids, right? Ano yung mga nag-restrain on doing such? Of course, the cost to fix is expensive. The fix is too much work. Ano yung mga dahilan para gawin natin? So, driving force, di ba? Motivation. Ano yung mga dahilan ba't di natin ginagawa sa pull? And negative and positive force. And as you could observe, in this case, both 8. So, talagang sana lang, ginawa na lang ni Sir na at least 8, at least isa 7 para makapili tayo. Pero minsan nangyayari din talaga. So, it takes not only the CEO, the leader on top, to decide, pwede na siya magtanong-tanong din sa board. Okay, tool number 4, the RASI matrix, accountability grid. The final step is the accountability shield. This is where you ensure that the fix isn't just a project, but a permanent habit by individual roles. Because this time around, you involve people. Sino ba ang gagawa nito at sino ang hindi gagawa ng kailangan gawin sa strategy na pinili natin. There are four roles defined in the RASI matrix. Who is responsible? The doer. Who is accountable? The owner. Right? Who is consulted? Sino nag-a-advise? Who is informed? The recipients. Again, responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. The responsible, siya yung gumagawa. Yung accountable, right? Siya yung may-ari ng nangyayari. Consulted, siya yung tinatanungan. Informed, siya yung tumatanggap. Ito, napaka-complicated naman ito. Pero ganyan ang magiging itsura niyan. You use a column. First column is the activities. Ano yung mga klaseng activities that are needed to be done. Yung kasunod na row on top of it, yung mga roles ng mga na included. You may include names, pero sa RASI matrix, you don't, as much as possible, you don't try to include names. And look, an example na lang. The change manager. And, the first activity, raise, change, and gather requirements. The change manager, isa lang siyang, inform lang siya, napagsasabihin na siya. The change owner, right? Siya yung responsible and accountable, meaning siya yung gumagawa and he also owns the effect. The technical representative are only responsible. The CAB, I don't know the CAB, yun na lang. It's only informed and the customers are also responsible to it. Yan, define the activity, specific actions or decisions, list the roles, use job titles, not names, assign E and A. Every task needs one accountable owner and at least one responsible doer. Map C and I, yan, and audit. Confirm exactly one A per task. 0 means no ownership. 2 means a conflict. So in the RASI matrix, in this very complicated matrix, hindi naman ganito papagawa ko sa inyo. Kung masyadong maraming A, which is accountable, it could show that there's a problem in the roles that you're trying to assign. There's a problem that may be redundant. There's a problem that may be too overwhelming. So that could be solved by dispersing the effort towards other people. And kung wala naman accountable, walang A, or you should find someone to be accountable for that role. Kung wala talaga, kung may role, napansin mo wala kang mailagay, baka yung role na redundant, tanggalin mo na lang. When everyone is responsible, no one is responsible because responsibility is the norm. And when the norm, it's the standard, right? Everyone is doing it, no one is abnormal. When everyone is responsible, then no one is responsible because responsibility is who we are. Okay, so going back to the case, di ba? We've done our dashboard, we've done our gap analysis, we've done our matrix, we've done our force field matrix. Now we use our force field analysis. Now we use the RASI matrix, right, to integrate. To prevent this happening again, right, create a RASI for the task. Diba? Ethical sourcing ang kailangan natin gawin. Team 1, CEOU, yung mga teams. Number 1, the team. It's composed of 5 sa case na to. Number 1, CEO, ikaw. 2, the production partner. 3, the finance head. 4, the external auditor. 5, the supplier. Again, when it comes to the roles, hindi naman kailangan marami. As much as possible, kasama ka dun at involve ang ibang tao. You could include one external if you want to, customers or an auditor. Pero, yun lang, at least tatlo. Tatlo kaya mo ilagay sa team. Ito, basic example lang sa case natin. COU, okay? When it comes to the ethics audit, you are the one who is accountable. You own this. The production head, yung gumagawa ng t-shirt, he is responsible when it comes to this. The finance head, he's only informed na pagsasabihan lang. The external auditor and the supplier are only consultants. Yan, marami pang example ng task goals. When it comes to the task, you don't need to include everything. Sabihin na natin, include natin at least 3 to 5 na importante para sa kailangan natin gawin. Alright? Okay, so, we've introduced 4 tools aside from yung mga nauna na, which is the Six Sigma, Leaning, SMART goals, how to integrate, implement, measure, integrate, implement, right? This time around, yung 4 na tools na to, okay? A while ago, it was a why question. Now it's a how question. How can we turn governance from a promise, salita-salita lang, into a practice by using those 4 tools? As an example, the dashboard to diagnose, to determine kung anong labis, anong kulang, saan malakas, saan mahina. Right? The action is to monitor real-time KPIs. The goal is to detect a red light before a crisis happens, before it flatlines. The gap analysis, it analyzes, it compares the red light reality against the policy and the goal. Okay? Was our policy being met? Kamusta ang current state sa sinasabi natin? And more importantly, what's the gap causing it not to be? The goal is to define exactly what is missing, right? An example is 40% in cleaning deficit, just an example. And we move to force field analysis. Now, since na-determine na natin yung gap, we try to strategize and implementation, kulang na ay. Okay, the action is we map out the drivers. What are the factors that motivates us from doing it? And what are the factors that are stopping us from doing it? Kung mas mataas ang motivating factors, dahil natin bakit gawin, we should do that. Kung mas mataas ang restrictive factors, then we could maybe look at another strategic direction that we need to do. The goal is to strategize how to weaken the pushback before you start to fix it. The RASI matrix, as mentioned a while ago, you assign alphabets, you assign specific tasks to different people, to different activities. And by doing so, mafi-figure out natin na who, how, when, where people should be doing their job. It helps us not to be overloaded. It helps the organization not to be ambiguous when it comes to the task. And when everyone knows what they need to do, Ideally, everyone is doing what they are supposed to do. The goal is to ensure the solution as a permanent owner and becomes a habit. Right. So ito ang finals natin which I would share sa ating Google Classrooms. I'm gonna give you one day, one entire day to do this. Alright? So, popost ko na to. Yan ang gagawin natin. We produce a dashboard. Yan. A gap analysis, a force field analysis, and lastly, a RASI matrix. Alright. And that concludes our discussion asynchronously. Thank you, class. Good luck sa finals.